looking at Ironman and what we can do about sewage going into our waters. It's going to make you feel a little bit unwell and a little bit unhealthy, but we've got someone joining us now who, if we do find ourselves on the wrong side of health, and particularly ahead of October, which is Restart Our Heart Month, I've got Tracy from Wow First Aid with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming into the studio.
No problem at all. It's lovely to be here.
You are Tracy from Wow First Aid. Give us an overview as to who Wow First Aid is and what you do.
Okay, so Wow First Aid is a first aid provider that offers affordable and accessible first aid to anybody that's interested in learning. We do community-based courses, so people can come along. Even if they don't want a certificate, they can come along for a couple of hours, learn how to save a life. We do health and safety executive required courses that are nationally recognised, and anything in between.
Everything in between. I love that. You mentioned there about you don't need to get a certificate. I thought that unless you had the certificate, you weren't allowed to like touch anyone or anything. But actually, it's the skill that's more important, isn't it?
Absolutely. If you're working as a professional capacity and you're a first aider within a business, then absolutely you must have the certificate and that goes along with that. However, most people just want to know the skills. 80% of cardiac arrests happen in a person's own home. So it's really important that those individuals, know what to do in that circumstance. So we run courses in local community centres, a couple of hours on an evening or an afternoon, pop along, learn the skills, go home, have your tea, and carry on with your life.
And carry on. And hopefully never have to use it.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned cardiac arrest in particular because you're here talking about October's Restart Our Heart Month.
Yes, so it's a national campaign by the Resuscitation Council, and they have actually really generously given me some funding to be able to provide free CPR and defibrillator training within Pembrokeshire over the next month.
That's amazing. You were saying earlier, just off air, that the resuscitation rates in Wales in particular, they're not very good.
No, so survival rates from out of hospital cardiac arrest generally across the UK are around 10%. However, in Wales, it's actually less than 5% success in survival rates. If you think about population centres where they're going to have higher survival rates than maybe rural areas, it is really quite an issue in rural areas. And yeah, the odds are stacked against us, unfortunately.
Yeah. But what is nice to see is that there's more and more defibrillators going up in these community settings. Lots of fundraising goes together because they're not cheap bits of equipment. But once they're there and they're registered, they can be your lifeline, literally.
Absolutely. I think one of the key things that you've talked about there is registering them, so that there is a website where you can register and people can log on and see where their nearest defib is. That's called the circuit. And you can go on there. But a lot of people might not know to register their defib. So it's really important that if you've got a defib that you register it. And the more defibs that are around, the better. If you can provide the first defibrillation shock within 2 minutes, a person has an 80% chance of surviving.
Wow. It's 80% if you're there within 2 minutes.
Yeah, first shock within 2 minutes. And the Resuscitation Council quote about 80% survival rate.
Gosh, it's unfortunate that Gina isn't being able to join us here this morning. She's a big advocate of defibrillary, which is, of course, raising awareness of all these defibrillators in different community settings. And this is very closely linked to that, isn't that?
Absolutely.
But of course, we're not always in rural areas going to have one within 2 minutes of a casualty falling over and finding themselves unable to breathe. So this is not medical advice, but if we were to find someone in a situation, Tracy, what's your advice?
Okay, so the key thing really is CPR. CPR is what we can do to keep the blood circulating and the blood oxygenated in order to give that person the best chance of survival if they have a cardiac arrest. A defibrillator is an extra piece of equipment. If you've got one, brilliant, but don't ever leave the casualty to go and find one. Carry on with CPR and wait for help, and obviously contact the emergency services.
So if you're someone that's there, keeping that blood flow, keeping those compressions and the CPR, keeping them going is more important than like, I'm back in a minute, I'm just going to get the shocker.
Absolutely. So you would only really send somebody for a defib or go and get a defib if there was a second person with you.
Okay. And if we do find someone in that situation, 999 emergency services.
Absolutely. And what 3 words?
Yes.
Very, very important, particularly, again, in rural areas. I'm somewhere on the coast path. Not very helpful. So What 3 Words is a brilliant app as well.
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar as to what 3 Words is, think Google Maps, or Apple Map, a map provider, put into, is it 1 meter squares or something? It's
3 meter squares.
3 meter squares, and each square has got 3 words attributed to it. So you can get an accurate reading as to where you are within a 3 meter squared radius of where you are, which is remarkable, as you say, particularly here in the rural areas. I'm somewhere between St. Dogmell's and wherever it might be. You can actually pinpoint the exact location for the emergency services.
And the quicker the emergency services get there, the better the chances of survival. We're looking at early response, early recognition, and early help. And those are the key messages, really.
I love that. And if people want to find out more about you and about WOW First Aid and signing on to these community initiatives and these free ones in October for Restart a Heart, well, where can they find more information on this?
Okay, so I'm on social media, so Facebook and Instagram. I've got a website, so wowfirstaidtraining.co.uk, and also the courses are listed in the community hub, so you can have a look for them there. And there's usually posters and things around. So drop me a message, get in touch, whatever.
Yeah. When we were talking about the registering of the defibs, Andrew's watching on YouTube at the moment, and he said that's really good to know. It's very easy to be like, yes, look, we've got this new defibrillator. It's on the box on the wall at the village hall. But if the register doesn't know where it's there, then how can you ring up and find the nearest one?
Absolutely. I think the other thing about defibrillators is everybody says they're really easy to use, and they are. They give you all the instructions, but you don't really want the first time you ever see one to be when you need to use it. So with the training that we do, we've got training defibrillators. So we stick the pads on the mannequins. We set the narration going so that you can follow that. And so people are then more familiar with what they should need to do.
And if you're of a certain generation, the images are of the 2 electric plates.
Oh,
clear. It's not that.
No, absolutely not. And you can't give somebody a shock if they don't need it. The machine does all the thinking for you. You just have to do as you're told.
That is good to know. And mentioned with the First Minister that it's National Women's and Fitness Day, National Fitness Day, where in association with Jay's Muscle and Fitness in Pembroke Dock, what do you do to stay fit and to keep that heart healthy?
Okay, so I like a cold water dip. I do that. Love walking on the coast path and things, but and I'm doing dip a day.
Oh, you're going to be signing up for that?
I am, yes.
What a time of year to be jumping into the water every day. Have you got a favourite beach or selection of beaches?
So I really like Broadhaven South. I do dip with the hazelnuts of Hazel Beach.
Nice.
So a variety of beaches, I think, really.
I love that. Tracy, is there anything else you're here on Pure West Radio that you want to say or want us to know about before we go?
Absolutely. There are a couple of things, looking at women and women's health. I think the other really important message is if you are doing resuscitation on a female, it's bra off, defib pads on. So that's really important because the pads need to have really good contact with the skin. So that's the first thing. And I really want people to have a conversation, turn to the person next to you and just say to them, would you know what to do if I collapse now? I think, unfortunately, resuscitation is one of those things that we don't think about until often we've already needed it and then for some people it is too late, unfortunately. So, please, I just want people to talk about life-saving skills, make it a natural part of learning life skills. That would be amazing.
Tracy, thank you so much. Remind us one more time if we want to have some of these training courses with you, where we can find you.
Okay, so look on my website, so wowfirstaidtraining.co.uk, or you can have a check on the community hub, Facebook, Instagram. Drop me an email. If I see you in the street, I'll be talking first aid and life-saving skills. So just keep your eyes open for me.
Thank you so much. I'm not going to put you under pressure on air, but I am going to give you a hint. If there's a song that you would like to play, maybe you've had one in your head on the walk down here.
Wow. The temptation is Staying Alive, because that is our CPR beat that we're going through. So Let's do it.
You're gonna go with that one. Staying Alive is coming up next for us here on Pure West Radio. It's coming up to 8:45. Celebrations and the letters from Scramble are also on the way. I promise, just a little bit later than usual. Tracy, thank you so much for joining us here today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful Wednesday, sponsored by Price and Cal.